Start Tyrod Taylor. Hey, Jet fans, welcome back to another video on Jack Talks Jets, and today's episode is going to be about recapping and putting in a lot of analysis into the horrific Jets loss against the Carolina Panthers today in Week 7. The New York Jets drop to 0-7 on their 2025 campaign, and oh my gosh, nobody expected them to be 0-7 heading into the Cincinnati Bengals game coming up next week. I believe it's in Cincinnati. Yeah, I think it's in Cincinnati, which is going to make it worse for the Jets. But anyway, we're going to be recapping another Cat game today, and we gotta face another Cat team next week, which is, I already know we're going to lose that one. It's going to be a field day for the Bengals offense with Jamar Chase. But anyway, we got to focus on another Cat team this video, and that being the Carolina Panthers. And what a odd game this was. I guess you could put it into words of like being an odd game, because at times you felt like it was the worst Jet game in franchise history. And other times you felt, okay, maybe we have a shot at this. Maybe the New York Jets can come up with a big win today. I felt that throughout multiple times throughout this Week 7 game against the Carolina Panthers, primarily when the Jets made the quarterback switch from Justin Fields to TYROD Taylor, and we'll get more into that later. But instead of the normal layout, how I usually do, I go out with I do offense, defense, special teams, and overall first. I kind of want to switch it up today and go by the quarter. Because I feel like that's kind of how I put it into my notes today. So let's kind of just go by the quarter a little bit. So let's start, obviously, with the first quarter of today's game. The offense, let's start with the offense first in the first quarter. The offense in the first quarter looked very lost without Garrett Wilson, and throughout the majority of the game as well. They looked very lost. They could not connect, especially with Justin Fields' passing game. He could not reach an open receiver for 90% of the entire game. I believe like maybe the majority of his passes were checkdowns to Isaiah Davis or Breece Hall. I mean, that's really it. Other than that, he could not find an open receiver to save his job, which ultimately ended up costing his job in today's game to TYROD Taylor. Speaking of Justin Fields, he struggled mightily in the pocket and held on to the ball for far too long yet again. He got sacked multiple times in the game today as well, which is something that it's a reoccurring issue for Justin Fields. And again, it really gets annoying, and Jet fans are really starting to get impatient to the point where they want Fields bench, which ultimately he did end up getting benched today. And a lot of fans, including myself, want to see TYROD Taylor start the rest of the season. So, and again, like I said, we'll get more into that in a little bit. The offensive line, I mean, they struggled a little bit to keep pressure from coming to, but to be honest with you, that's the least of my concerns right now. I really don't want to see anybody blaming anything on the offensive line, really, any of the major issues on the offensive line, because to be honest with you, if we didn't have the guys on our offensive line like we do right now, Justin Fields would be 10 times worse than he is right now. And I guarantee you TYROD Taylor would have gotten a knee injury today if we had maybe 2 years ago's offensive line. I mean, you cannot blame the offensive line for the majority of the Jets' mistakes. You really can't. Throughout the first quarter and throughout the at least when Justin Fields was in, there was still no trick plays, no RPOs. There were very minimal direct QB runs. The only one I really remember was the one where Justin Fields got hit really hard in the head and he had to go out for concussion protocol for a little bit. Other than that, they really started doing that when TYROD Taylor came into the game. That's when they started getting all the trickery plays that we've been waiting for all season long. That just shows you right there that they do not trust Justin Fields in the passing game like what they did with TYROD Taylor. That shows that Aaron Glenn or Tanner Engstrand does not trust Justin Fields in the passing game whatsoever, and that's why they waited until TYROD Taylor came into the game. So that's 100% proof to me that that shows they do not trust him. Because why didn't they do that when you had Justin Fields in the game? Because he cannot throw the ball. It's because he cannot throw the ball to save his life. There's a reason why Justin Fields hasn't gotten a single interception, or hasn't thrown a single interception, this entire season. Because he does not throw the ball besides checkdowns and maybe little slants. That's it. That's literally it. Go find me a play besides that Week 1 touchdown bomb to Garrett Wilson where Justin Fields actually threw a deep ball this season that actually connected. I can't name one off the top of my head. I'm sure there maybe is one, but even then, I don't really know, to be honest with you. That's really the only one that really comes to mind. The offense just struggled a lot throughout the first half as well. The first quarter specifically, I mean, it was just awful for Justin Fields. And flipping the sides of the ball here for the defense in the first quarter. The defense held its ground for the most part in the first quarter. The secondary still showed a little signs of struggling in big time stops in the first quarter, but eventually did clean that up come the second half, which I want to give props to the defense really quickly. The defense played absolutely electric today, and they have for the past 2 weeks. This defense is hopefully turning around. Hopefully, we have this caliber defense for the rest of the season, holding teams to a minimum of or a maximum of 13 points throughout the last 2 weeks, which is absolutely amazing. That's reminding me of the old 2023 days when Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. That's what this defense so far the last 2 weeks is reminding me of. Hopefully, Steve Wilkes continues to put out some great product for this defense. The linebackers played absolutely amazing today. Jamie Sherwood had a great game today. Brandon Stevens showed a lot of improvement today, which I really like to see. Andre Cisco had some pretty good plays today as well. Definitely showed that he's very physical, especially if he's blitzing on the run game. He definitely showed that he's very physical there. It kind of reminded me of a little bit of a Jamal Adams kind of actually. Malachi Moore actually had a pretty good game today as well. Love to see the rookie in there. But the one thing the Jets defense was struggled a little bit on today, especially in the first half, was their pass rush. They did not send a lot of pressure, which is one of the criticisms I did have for the defense today. The Jets do not send a lot of pressure, and they haven't sent a lot of pressure throughout the course of the 2025 NFL season, and that has to change. I think that desperately has to change for Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilkes and this entire Jets defense. I think that has to change moving forward. But in the second half, they did send a lot of pressure and they even sent Bryce Young to the locker room for Andy Dalton to come out and still win the game for the Panthers. Excuse me. I wish it was for the Jets, but no, for the Carolina Panthers as always. In the second quarter, moving on to the second quarter, the Jets defense to open up the second quarter had an amazing stop to force a turnover on downs. Again, that's really where we started to see some of the pressure come in because I think it was around 4th and 1, I think. So it's kind of second nature to just go for a huge blitz on 4th and 1 because 90% of the time the teams are going to run, and they did. They stuffed them. I don't think they didn't even gain a yard. And I just thought that was a great play call by Steve Wilkes there. Again, hopefully this defense plays to that caliber for the rest of the season. And, but here's one thing that I do want to say that was an issue throughout the game: penalties. Penalties are still a huge issue for the New York Jets so far this season. It's been 7 weeks, and we are still a very penalized team when Aaron Glenn promised more discipline would come. John Simpson had 2 penalties, I think 2 drives in a row. One penalty, or sorry, yeah, two penalties for 2 drives, right? He had 1 penalty, 1 drive, and 1 penalty the other. It was unsportsmanlike conduct or unnecessary roughness, I think was the first one. The second one was holding. I mean, that's not something you can have, really. You cannot have that. We had an ineligible receiver downfield. I feel like that one was called off, though. That one was declined. But still, it's small things like this that causes the Jets to lose games as well. It's not just Justin Fields being bad. It's not just the Jets secondary not being that great this season. It's also the little things like penalties. The Jets penalties this season might be some of the most atrocious Jets penalties, like timing-wise, I've ever seen. Like, the Jets can have an awesome, like, for example, here's a perfect example. When Tyrod Taylor came into the game, I believe it was in the third quarter, when he had an awesome pass, when he had an awesome drive with the Jets. Or no, sorry, it was in the second quarter, I believe, when Justin Fields went down with that concussion protocol. Taylor slinged it out on an out route to Josh Reynolds. He got the ball to around the 3-yard line, which could have had the Jets put up 7 on the board the very next play, or at least later that drive. But no, I believe that was actually the unnecessary roughness penalty on John Simpson. I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and check, but there was definitely it was a costly flag that costed the Jets most likely a touchdown. And keep in mind, the Jets did not score a single touchdown today. That's how horrible this offense is. That is how atrocious this New York Jets offense is. This offensive discipline needs to improve, as well with the penalty discipline, because I'm sick of it. And I'm sure most Jet fans are sick of it as well. Something that you shouldn't be sick of, though, is the defensive line. The defensive line has improved so much within the past couple weeks. They're putting on more pressure on quarterbacks. They're containing quarterbacks more, which is something I really like. Jermaine Johnson still rising up to playing like what he used to. Will McDonald's doing pretty good this season as well. One thing I do not like to see, though, is Braden McGregor, Michael Clemens, and the rest of these guys who are not NFL roster material playing on one defensive line for a drive. If you're going to have maybe Braden McGregor or if you're going to have Michael Clemens, at least have Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, or Jermaine Johnson on the D-line with you. But, oh my gosh, you cannot have practice squad players on one unit, especially when it's a drive that the Jets need to stop. I mean, how stupid is that move? I get these guys need to take breaks, but you need to have at least one playmaker on your defensive line if you're going to sub in for a backup. You need to, because that's all where it starts. It all starts on the defensive line for defense, all of it. If a run gets past the defensive line, it's an automatic probably 7-yard gain. That cannot happen, and that did happen when those guys were in today. Rico Dowdle absolutely ripped apart Michael Clemens, Braden McGregor, Jay Tufele. He absolutely ripped them apart. It's just awful, really. But moving back or on to special teams, Nick Folk continues to impress me by the week. I love Nick Folk. Hopefully he comes back next season as the Jets kicker. Austin McNamara continues to impress me every single week. Arguably the Jets' best player. Speaks numbers, doesn't it? Or speaks volume. That really speaks volume of this New York Jets team. Our punter is our best player. It's absolutely ridiculous. Breece Hall had a little bit of an injury today. He had a tough game for the Jets. You saw him slam his helmet onto the ground and head into the locker room, I believe, for just to get checked real quick. He did not have a great game today, although he did have a couple good runs. Ultimately, he did not really have a great game, which is another reason why I think he may be dealt at the trade deadline or he's gone by the end of the season. And I've already said this publicly multiple times. I do not think the Jets will re-sign Breece Hall. And it's unfortunate because I really think that Breece Hall has a lot of potential and a lot of talent, but it just hasn't been seen since 2023, really, for the Jets. Since his second season, it really has not been seen. And to be honest with you, I thought his week 1 performance was enough to get him a franchise tag at least. And I said if he just played like that for the rest of the season, I think he's got a franchise tag. It just hasn't been that way, unfortunately. Especially with this was supposed to be a huge year for him with a run first offense, but Tanner Engstrand doesn't seem to understand the memo of a run first offense. They're playing way too conservatively, and they're too afraid to unleash their strengths, like Justin Fields' run game. They were too afraid to do that. They were too afraid to unleash trick plays and their creativity. They were playing way too conservative with Justin Fields. But when Justin Fields comes out, and TYROD goes in, now we'll start doing all these flips and flea flickers and go balls. Again, speaks volumes, right? They do not trust Justin Fields as their quarterback, which is why I think if the Jets get the first overall pick, or at least a top 3 pick, they're going for a quarterback. It's going to be either Lenora Sellers or Fernando Mendoza. And you know what? I'm all for it. Get Mendoza. Get Sellers, get one of those two, and I'll be okay with that. Maybe even Carson Beck. I wouldn't even mind Carson Beck in next year's draft in the first round. I would not mind it. I really wouldn't. And at this rate, I think the Jets will have a top 2 pick in next year's draft. And I hope it's either Lenora Sellers or Fernando Mendoza. I really hope it is. But staying on the offensive side of the ball, Tyrod Taylor actually played very calm in the pocket. He looked way more comfortable in the pocket, and just his play style overall looked a lot more comfortable and better than Justin Fields has been all season, besides that week 1 game against the Steelers. And, that was really the breaking point for me. Justin Fields' performance and Tyrod Taylor's performance, the comparison between those two today was really the line that was drawn today, with me liking Justin Fields as our starting quarterback. I unfortunately do not have faith in him anymore. I would like to see Tyrod Taylor move on as the Jets quarterback for the rest of the season. I would like to see Tyrod Taylor as the Jets quarterback. And it's unfortunate because I had so much faith in Justin Fields. I thought he would do so many good things for the Jets, especially after that week 1 game against the Steelers where he had his best game of his entire career. And now Justin Fields is having his worst year of his entire career after that. It's really unfortunate. But when you have a veteran like Tyrod Taylor, who's already shown he can have success in the past, and he's a very intellectual quarterback, why shouldn't you just roll with him? Just roll with this guy. Even today, he may have thrown 2 interceptions, but he made great decisions and he had good reads at times. Sure, it wasn't perfect. I'm not acting like he's the second coming of Joe Namath. No. But he just looked way more polished than Justin Fields. That's all I'm saying. Start this guy for the rest of the season, and maybe you won't be in the top 3 pick conversation anymore. Maybe you will end the season with 5 wins, maybe. 5 wins, 6 wins, maybe. But I doubt that. All I'm saying is just, I think the Jets should just start Tyrod Taylor the rest of the season. That's all I'm saying. But, anyway, the coaching was horrendous this game. Aaron Glenn is not living up to what he said. The Jets are 0-7 for the first time since 2020. This season might arguably be worse than 2020 if by the end of the season. Hopefully not. And again, I don't think anything can get worse than that. But they're the New York Jets. I think they could beat themselves in the worst season. They can't beat their best season, right? Can't beat their best season, but they could definitely beat their worst season, right? Yeah, that's the New York Jets for you. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's recap. If you guys liked it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like button. If you're new, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Road to 350 subscribers. The goal is that by the Super Bowl. Hopefully we can get to 350 subscribers by Super Bowl 60. And I will see you all next time. Peace out, Jet fans.